Hey there, fellow collectors, Shuki here, and again, it's been a while since I've done a toy video. My first video back sometime in December was a Digimon card unboxing, but we are back with some toys, finally. Finding my passion once again, and it's in Transformers. It's kind of always been in Transformers. Now don't get me wrong, I still am doing Toku stuff, and I'll have a big vlog soon detailing all of that. But for now, we're gonna put our focus and energy into the Transformers Voyager Class Transformers Kingdom Voyager Class Optimus Primal, and I've been waiting so long for this figure since they announced it way back when. For those that don't know, Beast Wars is what I grew up on. I started Transformers with G2, but my passion for Transformers really ignited during Beast Wars. And so I've got a really near and dear place in my heart for these characters, and to have new versions of them after so long in their like Beast Wars forms is very good. Like, we just got the Optimal Optimus and Power of the Primes and stuff like that, and those were all really cool. But to have these like on-screen character representations in a new updated form is wonderful. So let's go ahead and get started with this. This is how it comes packaged. More or less, the swords are off to the side, I believe. But here is Optimus Primal in his robot mode, and he looks great. There's a few discrepancies between like the show model, obviously. First off, like the mainframe models were very flat because it was in the 90s. But the Kingdom aesthetic is all very like realistic while still very much managing their robot modes. So you have some nice fur detailing throughout all of the figure here, which definitely looks really cool. I dig the look actually quite a bit. This is what I would think of if the characters in the show were kind of in a modern day Transformers look, and I'm sure that's probably going to look we're going to get in Kingdom Netflix whenever that hits sometime this year. Here's the back of the figure. Lots of fur detailing back here, and we'll get to that when we get to Beast Mode. But very cool. The only major thing that throws me off is on the show, the hips right here were red, and they are blue. It's blue plastic, so I assume it's on the same parts runner as like the feet and the head, hence why it's blue. So it's not a big deal, but it's the only thing that's throwing me off a little bit about the figure, but it still looks pretty good, so not going to complain about that. There's a few cool things that this does in robot mode. First of all, there's a little button right here on the side of the arm. And when you push that, this opens up, and you kind of have to dig in and get it out. But they are the little arm blasters that he has in the show. And he's got that on both sides, and these are on little hinges. So you can move those around as you see fit, and then you just tuck right back in. So that is really cool. He also has his two swords, which just store these little tabs, go right into these little slots right there, and they can just pop off and go on to the side. The arms here can actually open up. It doesn't really do a whole lot for this mode because the hole is kind of just indented into his hand, so you don't have to open up the fingers to slot the swords in. But it's a nice little effect nonetheless. So some movable fingers on a Voyager class, I think, is really cool. And just to prove a point, since I can't get that hand open anyway, just slide the slot in. Just right there. Slide the slot in. It's a peg, but you get what I mean. So you can hold both swords. And he's got some pretty good posability, so you can get all sorts of neat poses, which I'm not going to do on camera because I can't pose figures to save my life. So I'm sure many of you know that by now. But very cool, and he does hold them nice and secure as well. So we'll just pop those out and keep those to the side. There is no other more convenient storage than just slotting them on the back, which is fine. It doesn't need anything else. I think the original toy, the Ultra Class Beast Wars toy, hit him in the back a little more. But that's fine. If you don't want them on display or anything, just put them in a parts bag. That's what parts bags are for. He also has the shoulder cannons right here. And these can tuck away. This is part of the transformation. But you do kind of have to just shove this open And these will slide into this little rotating head cavity and just slot that back in. And now his shoulder cannons are nice and tucked away. So you got a weaponless robot mode going on. So very, very, very cool. I love the look of this thing. Articulation wise, you just have the head on a ball joint, so it can rotate all the way around. It can look up, it can look down. Not as well as you'd like, tiny bit of side to side, but it's got the head articulation that you need it to. Full rotation in the arms, can go outwards that much. It gets stopped by the shoulder pad, which does snap very tightly. We have a almost 90-degree bend at the elbow, which actually has the same sort of look as the toy, where it just looks very bad. But it's accurate to the toy, so I'm not going to complain about that, sure. And then you have, like I said, the wrist movement, mostly for transformation, but it's there as it should be. And you have the fist finger movements. There we go. Very tight joint on mine, but the fingers move. And you do have waist movement right there. And you have a thigh swivel, a double joint at the knee for transformation. So you have all sorts of little bendy bends that you can do at the knee. You have a slight calf swivel right here. It does, I don't think it goes all the way around. I don't want to test it. It's mostly just for natural stances in the beast mode, but it is something that is there if you need it to. And then of course you have the ankle tiltage that Warfare Cybertron is known for nowadays. And you have a really awesome piston movement right here in the foot. So very nice all around. One thing I do want to point out is that as per the instructions, this butt flap is actually supposed to be up to kind of mesh with the backpack. I don't like that. I think that's really dumb. Mostly because that's where the hip joint is. So if you move the hip joint, you just have this butt flap sticking out. And it covers the screws back here. So, I don't know, it helps more down than it does up. So, we're going to keep it like that. And real quick before we move on to transformation, because I completely forgot, here he is with Core Class Rat Trap, with Deluxe Class Black Arachnia, because I don't have Cheetor yet, and the Behemoth himself, Leader Class Megatron, and unfortunately, we'll get to this in the Megatron video, mine has really loose hips. But yeah, there's the Beasties gang thus far, and that's really cool. There's lots of really cool scaling going on here. So like as small as Rat Trap is and as large as Megatron is, it all scales very well to the show. So I have to give him significant credit for that. So good job, gang. Good job. So I think that is about it for the robot mode. To get into one of the beast modes, yes, there is 2 beast modes. It's actually just different stances for the beast mode. Fold these down just like so, and your arms are completed. As when we did the shoulder cannons, this is going to slide out, flip this around, flip the monkey head around, plug that back in, and close that up. And one thing I forgot with the articulation, there's a little butterfly joint right here at the shoulders, which isn't for transformation, it's just to be neat. So good job there. I forgot to flip the chest piece around. There we go, do that. Very cool chest design. Flip that up, flip this around, so now the butt flap is now a crotch flap. Pop this off right here, swivel that around, and we'll get that situated momentarily. For the legs, what we're going to want to do for this stance is there is a little slot right there and a little hole right there, and that kind of locks the knee in place a little bit, so you can use the natural knee joint in robot mode. But what you're going to want to do is make that come undone. And then swing this around just like this. So he's got kind of like a weird little chicken foot going on. Fold up the piston on the foot. And these joints are very tight on mine. They're not like, oh my God, I'm going to break it tight, but they are pretty tight. And so all that, and you have some little toe joint too that I forgot to talk about, but we'll talk about that when we get to articulation in the robot mode. Fold this panel down to cover up all of his little robot mode leg pieces. And there you go. That is part 1 of the beast mode. And this just creates a gorilla that's standing more upright. It does look a little bit weird from the sides because of how the legs are. Ideally speaking, you'd want this to be just a little bit more chunky and fleshed out. But from the front, it looks absolutely fine. There's no problems with that whatsoever. So he stood on 2 legs a lot in Beast Wars, and a lot of gorillas do. So this is probably, if I were to display it in gorilla mode, which I'm absolutely not, this is probably the look that I would go for, just because I think he stood on 2 legs more than he did walk around like a normal gorilla in Beast Wars. So there you go. There is the first beast mode configuration, and the swords still do plug in on the back here. If I can find the hole, since I'm doing this entirely through looking through my camera screen, which is not the best way to do this whatsoever. Do not recommend. I will find a better way to do this momentarily. I guess if I just tilt my head a little bit to the side, I can look past the camera frame. So the swords do still store back here. They look a little strange, I'm not going to lie. You can actually flip these around, and you can like plug them up here. It's like, like if he just like lunges forward at you and stabs you through the heart. You could do that if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep them to the side because weapon storage on beast modes is just always really bad. It just never looks good. So there is the first configuration. Articulation wise, you have a lot of movement in the head because of how it transforms. So we can look up this far, down until his chin hits his big old pecs. Got a cat coming in, just as a heads up. Side-to-side movement right down there. Full rotation in the arms, out the same. Everything else is pretty much the same. Obviously, the legs are going to be a little bit more hindered because of all the flaps, but you can move the flaps out of the way if you absolutely needed to. So, not a big deal there. And like I said, you got some nice little toe crunchies going on in the feet. I just realized I said the term toe crunchies, and I'm not a fan of that. But here we get with that beast mode. He's just going to fall down. So to get him in a more natural gorilla state, you're just going to lift up his head a little bit, lift up the butt flap. We're going to go ahead and swing these back into their locked position and just move that forward a bit. So same thing on this side, just swing that back down and around. Just like so. And then this is going to come down back here. And you're going to want to try to get that situated as best as you can. It is not the easiest thing to do in the world, but just sort of situate him however you want to situate him. Bring his monkey head up, and I feel like he needs to be a little bit more upright than that. That's not too bad. That's not too bad right here. So that is like the natural gorilla stance for his gorilla mode. Like I said, I prefer him standing on 2 legs just because I feel like he did that more in the show. But if you're going for a more realistic gorilla approach, you can display him like this. And nothing has changed in this at all, other than the leg articulation a little bit, but not a whole lot. And like I said, the swords do store back here still. And if you really wanted to pop those shoulder cannons out, you can still do that too. If you want to have some good old shoulder missile monkey. So, for beast mode comparison, here is Primal with core class rat trap, really small, with deluxe class black arachne. Obviously, these are not anywhere near in scale for actual animals, but pretty good scaling for the show models. And last but not least, here is leader class Megatron, who can't even really fit in the camera frame properly with Primal, but still pretty cool. Primal can ride Megatron. Megatron, I don't think can hold Primal's weight. I hope I lied. I lied. There we go. Look at that. I needed to pose that better. Okay, we're moving on. Very neat. I do love this a lot. To convert it back into the robot mode, just straighten out these legs, lift that up, rotate this around, bring those pistons down, straighten out the hands, just like so. Flip that down, swing this around, do that, flip, and actually before you do that, rotate the monkey head around first, because it's a lot easier to do it that way. I'm going to keep the shoulder cannons in, because I'm not a huge fan of them in a natural stance. And I once again forgot the the chest flip on that. I'm so used to the original toys method of chest flip that I'm not used to doing it like that. And there you go. Now you are back in Primal's robot mode. And like I said, I adore this figure. I'm obsessed with Beast Wars. I'm so glad that Kingdom has moved the War for Cybertron series into the Beast era. And I know, thanks to listings, we're not going to get all of the characters. And I really hope in 2022 we can get some more Beast Wars going on with some Transmetals and the missing Season 1 characters and stuff like that. It would be really cool. But for now, I love Primal. He's one of my favorite Optimuses in the history of the franchise. And this is a great Voyager representation. $29.99 at most major retailers. Please, if you love Beast Wars, do yourself a favor. Pick this guy up. I think the Masterpiece is great, don't get me wrong. But for $30, this does a lot of things the Masterpiece does on a much cheaper quality. Much cheaper quality? That's not what I wanted to say. A much cheaper price point with great build quality. So there we go with that. Love this figure. Do recommend picking it up. I picked this up at my local Target. Target is starting to put out all the Wave 1 stuff. It's very hit and miss right now because Targets are going through some resets. But keep your eye out and definitely try to pick this guy up. So that about does it for this review. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And what figure are you most looking forward to coming up in Kingdom? So as always, thanks for watching. Take care. Glad to be back. And have a great one. Bye.